When you get a little deeper into Matthew 2, and you guys read the Nativity story in the next week, if you sit down, you read Matthew 2, this amazing moment, and they quote Micah. Watch what happens next in the story whenever the wise men decide to take a different route back to the east because they were visited in a dream, and the angel said to them, don't go tell Herod where this baby is. And so Herod finds out that they've snuck back to the east, and Herod, in the most awful and disgusting moment, maybe in all of the Bible, orders the slaughter of the innocents. Every wicked man that's ever lived, every pitiful dictator or ruler or leader or cult figurehead owes a little something of his evil to Herod, who orders the execution of every baby boy aged 2 and under in that area because he's trying to find the Jesus that he missed. So every other boy has to die. Have you ever thought about that? This is a side. This hit me. I was up in the pulpit a few years ago when this hit me, that Jesus carried this burden with him his entire adult life, that he had no peer from his hometown because his existence killed every baby boy within 2 years of himself. You imagine that? Jesus carried that to the cross. He didn't kill them, but his existence killed them. Because that's the pushback of darkness against the light. Is that everything that tries to encounter the light has to encounter the darkness. It's our creation story. We suffer at the darkness. Don't ever think that Jesus didn't have to suffer a little bit in the darkness. He carried that darkness with him day and night. I don't know if I can't even imagine that. You? I don't even know what to say about it. He's a man acquainted with sorrow, the Bible says. How? How was he not? He thought about it every time he closed his eyes. Acquainted with grief, acquainted with sorrow. When Herod slaughters those babies, Matthew chapter 2 quotes another passage from the Old Testament. It quotes a little verse from Jeremiah, in which Jeremiah says, Rachel laments for her children, which is an obscure moment. Rachel laments for her children. And it says this is in fulfillment. These babies dying is what Rachel's lamenting over. So I did a little research into that and found that what happened is that the Hebrew people had a legend. Are we okay with legends? We always look at legends and like, oh, that's silly. But you need to get to the source of why a legend exists. I mean, it might not be true, but it's relevant, right? It's like myths to me. Like I read mythology now and think, okay, it didn't have to be true. It was real. Because there's something real in that myth that centuries worth of people gravitated to. So it didn't have to be a true story. It had to have something true in it. We need to stop looking for stories to see if they're true and start seeing if there's truth. That's the point of a good story. Is there truth? That's the ones that last, by the way. Even novels or movies. It's not just the ones that are shot well, good acting, good lighting, good costumes, good makeup. If they speak truth in some way, we go, okay, that's going to last the test of time. That says something. There was a legend in Israel that if you got close enough to Ephrathah, you could hear Rachel crying. And so a lot of Israelites would kind of avoid Ephrathah because they believed they could hear Rachel wail in the night. Now you go, well, that's just a ghost story. It was so powerful that Jeremiah picks it up and goes, Rachel will wail indeed for her children. And Matthew 2 says, when Herod slaughtered the babies, Rachel wailed for her children. And we Christians read that and go, I wonder what that's about. But in Jesus' day, the people living it out went, I heard that story my whole life. I mean, there's a little bit of truth to the pain of Rachel. And if Jesus is who we think he is, he was born where Rachel cries. And out of that, Jesus goes to the cross. Jesus comes out of the tomb. Jesus dries the crying eye. Jesus touches the leper. Jesus Jesus bakes bread on the cold ashes of all of our wailing, all my stuff. Here comes Jesus.